Right into speakers.
So where is my consent agenda and my Lisa that doesn't have my message? Let me see if I can bring it up.
Good evening, everyone.
Did you get my speakers? Thank you, everyone, for coming to the Buffalo Board of Education's meeting, March the 20th. Please stand and salute our flag. On 3, 1, 2, 3, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you. Thank you. Welcome to our board meeting. We have an action-packed meeting today. A lot of speakers. Prior to the board meeting starting, we went into executive session. The board held an executive session to discuss the pending litigation proceeding before the New York State Division of Human Rights with complaint number 102-06267. Item number 2, a pending litigation matter between the New York State Supreme Court with index number 813-909-2019. Item number 3, matters related to the employment history and potential discipline of specific district employees. And 4, the purpose of receiving legal advice. No action was taken. With that, moving forward, our superintendent has asked to be excused today from our meeting, and so we have our fearless leader, who I call Dr. K, and he lets me call him that, but Dr. Carrera is here to represent her and to assist us. In regards to the board recognition, Dr. K, we didn't talk about this, but I think at this point, what I'm going to do is ask at the unfinished business that we talk about our tours. We'll do that toward the end of the meeting. Presently, I don't have any information to share. Do you have anything under board recognition?
No, we'll be able to move right into speakers.
Okay, thank you. At this time, the board welcomes speakers who have signed up to speak at tonight's meeting. Please be reminded that all speakers' remarks must be limited to 3 minutes or less. We ask that speakers be mindful that this is a business meeting open to the public and televised locally. Attendees and viewers include persons from throughout Western New York, including children. The board asks that speakers conduct themselves professionally and that their comments remain civil and courteous, bearing in mind that they will be heard by people of all ages. This is your opportunity for Buffalo's residents to address the Buffalo Board of Education about issues that serve the public's interest and the district's mission. And the board asks that speakers demonstrate appropriate decorum. With that said, let's see who our first speaker is. Now, I need to warn you up front, if we start going over and we get too far in there, I'm going to stop you, and 3 minutes is your limit today. We have upwards of about 25 speakers, and we want to make sure that we listen to each one of you, and then we need to conduct some board business. It is an honor to stand before this board. With that said, Anita Pasquale, school psychologist, use of the standard Binet, I guess that's how you say it, 5, and gifted testing. Correct me if I said it wrong.
You said it correct.
Okay, good, thank you.
Good evening, Dr. Chris, Madam President, and esteemed board members. I am going to use my notes tonight because otherwise I will talk forever. My name is Anita Tasali. I have been a school psychologist for 29 years, and 23 of those years have been in Buffalo schools. I have also had the privilege of acting as department chair for the school psychologist for over 10 years. Tonight I'm here with my colleagues, Kati Fre and Barbara Armand, as stakeholders in the success of our students and in support of equal access to quality education. Tonight our goal is to share some information about the policies and procedures for entrance into criteria-based programs. We are here specifically to highlight the use of the standardized intelligence measure, that stands for BoE 5, and to ask for your support in making a change. Some of you are already familiar with this topic, as I've had contact and positive support and discussions with Mr. Scott, with Dr. Williams previously. Back in the late 1990s, I was part of a team that was a district-wide team for the gifted and talented programming. The team met to review policies, procedures, and assessment practices. At some point, the committee either phased out, changed, or lost my number. I'm not offended. The use of an IQ measure has always been a part of the G&T process, and this is one of the best practice recommendations for assessments. School psychologists, our professional organizations, the national and local gifted programs all endorse the use of an intelligence measure as one component used to identify our higher ability students. In the Buffalo Public Schools, the psychologists are involved in this assessment process. The comments are specific to the ones we're using to stand for BoE 5 for. In '97, when I joined the district, school psychologists completed the IQ portion of the test. Families also submitted parent rating scales. There were teacher measures. There was also an achievement measure that was completed. In recent years, the district has eliminated all measures other than the IQ measure. This is a concern to us as it's not in keeping with best practices. The spirit of this was an attempt to reduce bias. However, the unintended consequence is that we are no longer following best practices, and we have not gotten that hope for change in our population of students that are being found eligible for these programs. We have an ethical responsibility to use the most current assessments and appropriate measures in these types of situations. Approximately 10 years ago, this district was cited by the Office of Civil Rights for disproportionate enrollment in our criteria-based schools. Changes were made to the admissions process in an attempt to address this, as I said. However, we continue to need to improve our access for all students to high ability and high achievement programs. We want to make sure we're doing this in a way that represents the cultural and linguistic makeup of our district. I'm going to turn this over now to my colleague, Barbara Rahman, to share a little bit more about the Stanford BoE 5 and the standards for assessment.
Okay, Barbara Rahman is the next speaker, and is Catherine Burhoff with you?
Yes.
Okay, so they got a block going on up in here, so we're going to hear them for the next 6 minutes. Go ahead, thank you.
Hi, good evening. Thank you for letting us come in tonight. I am Barbara Rahman. I work at Buffalo Public School 81, and I'm super glad to be here tonight to talk about the Stanford BoE. I've experienced assessing gifted and talented youth in Buffalo, through districts around Buffalo, Alaska, and California. I know I don't look old, but I've been in the business since '92, so it's all good. As Anita already noted, the school psychologists are concerned that we are down to one measurement for assessing our children's gifted and talented programs. The main concern is that it's not ethically appropriate, and although we are not adverse to using an IQ score, we recognize that is required for part of the assessment. We need to make sure that we conduct valid and fair assessments of our students. We need to consider cultural norms, linguistic norms, experiential backgrounds, and the Stanford BoE was normed in 2001. Norm reference tests need to be updated. There is no projection for this test to be updated at this time. It has been being used in Buffalo Public Schools for this purpose since 2003, and it no longer represents our sample of children. It is a 7 subtest battery that provides an IQ score for high ability students. So it is recommended for that. It doesn't cover our population. It is the sole thing that we are using for the program, as Anita already said, but several items on the test itself are outdated. It does not account for the over 7,000 EML or ELL students that are current in our district or former ELL language learners. We took part in a proposal a little while back to request that we change the IQ test to something more current, like the WISC-5, the Unit 2, the Naglieri, and or the COGAT. These tests are much more currently normed, and they cover the population of kids that we have in our city. It's very important to do best practice for our gifted and talented students. We need to use more than one measure, not just one IQ measure. I would like to recommend also, with switching to a different IQ test, we go back to also doing some assessment for achievement, performance, or criteria-based measures, rating scales, or interviews, recommendations for students. We should never use just one test to qualify our kids for anything. That being said, my friend Kati Fre has some information.
Good evening. I am Kati Fre, and I'm a school psychologist that's been with Buffalo for 26 years. I've had an opportunity to work at both central offices and various members of student support teams in a number of different schools over my tenure in this district. I'm here to highlight an example of a model that we can use as a district for best practices so that we could access giftedness of all of our students and not just our criterion-based schools. And that model is one model that the school I am in currently has been using since it started, and that is the school enrichment model. And that's currently being used at North Park Community School, number 50. It is a long-standing model backed by research from 1977 all the way through till the most current, I think, is 2014. And it really is a model that, when implemented, it can be both an enrichment program used with academically gifted and talented students and as a magnet-themed enrichment approach to all students. The theme of a student enrichment model is to develop the strengths and talents of all students by giving them enriching learning experiences and then higher learning standards for all children through 3 goals: developing all the talents for all the students, providing a broad range of advanced level enrichment experiences for all students, and providing advanced follow-up opportunities for young people based on their strengths and interests. A lot of information can be found on our website through the UConn UConn education website, because that's one of the institutions that do a lot of research on the school-wide enrichment model. In summary, from basically what Anita and Barb and I have all been trying to say, is that we school psychologists would like to work with the district to have 3 goals attained. We would like the district to support the immediate end to using the Stanford Binet as the sole and preferred assessment tool for the gifted and talented enrollment process. We also would like to have our school psychologist team of members of our school psychology department to have a seat at the table at any of the future decision-making discussions where there is discussion on what assessments to use for the criterion-based schools. And finally, we really want our district to start to embrace the excellent knowledge and best practices we have been learning through our culturally, linguistically relevant initiative to look at more inclusive policies for all of our schools. To kind of borrow a phrase that I hear a lot during our CLR training is, when we know better, we do better. And I really, really need us to do better, because all of our kids deserve it. Even the most disabled. Thank you for your time.
Well, that was committee work, worthy.
Yes.
What do you think about that? Larry?
Yes, please.
All right, noted.
That was very interesting. Okay, thank you so much for that. Dr. Joe Rotino, Concerned Citizen, Reform of the Education System. Thank you. This is really well done.
Take the papers. You start. Ready?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, hello everybody. I'm basically just going to be reading off the sheet and then you keep the sheet, and that's basically the whole thing. Has my contact info on it, I wrote a book, and I guess I'll get to presenting now. Thank you for all being here. The Reform of the Education System is a book I just finished in the last couple of months, written by me, Joseph H. Rotino, available on Amazon.com as an ebook right now. So we all agree that the title of my book is real, and as some say, the struggle is real. We all do our best to not place blame or displace blame. The point is, I'm grateful for the education system and we all agree it needs reform. No more problems, just reform. My name is Joseph Rotino, and I have a deep love for education and have been granted a mind that demands its own satisfactory understanding inherently. And I believe that my mind, in context of this, is in the same boat as everyone else's minds, which is that we all demand a satisfaction, and I feel that that is literally the thing that is the issue of in between actual reform, is that it's in that crux, it's in there, that we aren't meeting our own expectations of our own minds and satisfying it properly. But there's no one else here, it's all us, right? So this is why asking the question of why, et cetera, is so important, because everyone has such things as we should, because of nature, we must see the aspects of our life, or death rather, especially the very dangerous ones that are so confusing. It becomes unnatural that would be unfortunately available, meaning present in our current system of education. So that's basically the point, that when you start to separate yourself from your natural self, it's like take a mindful step and take a pause and reflect, and allow yourself to come back to center and reassess. And I mean that in the professional way. You put into rather curriculum. Is any of that unnatural? Is any of that plastic? We're deferring to the children about formation of curriculum to the best of their ability. If you phrase the questions correctly, which you can as teachers, to get the job done, and finding out what is actually relevant to the souls in front of you that are incarnated in that area, right, in the formation time of the actual curriculum. Because like I said earlier, there's no one else actually responsible for it. And the reform actually does have to start, right, and has to be complete and proper and lasting. And I'll skip to the motto here. Well, the priority in the education system is always the student's experience. The way to go about your work as a teacher is simple. Conduct all of your behavior, including obviously the establishment of all curriculum inside of that ongoing truth/rule. And then that's another mindful step. If you see yourself slipping, I'm not prioritizing the student experience, then you take a pause again. And so basically I'll end with this. I have formulas, mottos, and I would work with anybody at all, anywhere technically across the globe. So that's basically the Reform of the Education System by me, Joseph H. Rotino. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Dr. Rotino, who has written a book, The Reform of the Education System. Thank you. Our next speaker is no stranger to this district, Mr. Esmerel, Concerned Citizen Parent Cornhole Tournament.
Thank you. Before I speak about the cornhole, I want to recognize that social worker from each one of my children's schools are here today, and that social worker from 156, we had a meeting, we agreed on a budget, and a month later we were told that we lost our social worker. And we really want Mr. Russell back. So I'm glad he's here, and I'm glad he can hear that I spoke on behalf of him tonight. The process wasn't fair that we got a cut and we didn't get to have a new SBMT to discuss what we wanted. So on a really positive note, thanks to Dr. Cressy's and the board, the superintendent, we have cornhole tables delivered to all of our high schools. So it's a pet project of mine to get cornhole as a unified sport. Our children with disabilities don't have enough sports to play. So the District Parent Coordinating Council, in partnership with FACE and the other parent groups, we're going to have a cornhole tournament at the summit. We're going to have 2 divisions. We're going to have a varsity division, which is any 9th through 12th graders, and we're going to have a unified division, which has 1 special ed kid and 1 varsity kid. And I know the varsity term's wrong, but So we're gonna have 2 tournaments at the tournament, and the winning players will get cornhole tables to take home to their families. So what I'm asking, let everybody know today, if you have students in the high schools, make sure someone is organizing a tournament in your school so you can send your representatives to the tournament. So every high school, we've got the GED program, we got School 84, 131, South Park, McKinley, everybody has an opportunity to send their students to our tournament, and it will become the first ever cornhole champion. A little background there is a college that gave 2 scholarships out for the first time ever for cornhole. So we are going to be the first district in the nation to have cornhole, and eventually we'll get into the grammar schools. So thank you.
That's a true example of teamwork makes the dream work. Next speaker is Jamie Palini, social worker, proposed budgetary cuts to social workers. I misspelled your name, please excuse me.
Good evening, members of the board, cabinet members, and fellow administrators. My name is Jamie Palini. I am a social worker at School 84. I stand before you today to request your help to ensure that there will not be a reduction in the number of district hired social workers in our schools. Many of our social workers, as been stated, have been told by their administrators that their positions will be eliminated or reduced this coming school year. Having an adequate amount of social workers in our school is essential. Over here I have the NASW recommended ratios for social workers, 1 social worker for every 250 gen ed students, and for students with intense needs, they recommend 1 social worker for every student, every 50 students. So we're asking that you partner with us so that we can provide the needed social emotional supports to our struggling students. The CDC reports that feelings of persistent sadness and hopelessness, suicidal thoughts and behaviors have increased by 40% among our children and teens, and the suicide rates have also increased. These numbers are very alarming and really speak to the need for our schools to be adequately staffed with an appropriate number of licensed social workers. Will you help us ensure that this happens? Furthermore, according to the Census Bureau, Buffalo has the 7th highest child poverty rate in the nation. School social workers are an integral link between school, home, and the community. We do not want to further disadvantage our already disadvantaged student populations by decreasing student access to social emotional supports and linkages to community resources. Lastly, I believe that there has been some talk about how to utilize monies from the state allocated to the district earmarked for mental health supports by Kati Fre, with thoughts about replacing services provided by the school social workers for services provided by our community partners. While we appreciate our community partners, we have completed referrals with parents who are interested in receiving assistance for their children and families, only to find out that these partners are unable to service them. In the last years, they have struggled to maintain staff, and positions have been left unfilled for months or longer. Also, the overseeing bodies and grant funders who place constraints on their services provision, such as like limited hours of school, they're able to be in school, limited insurances they're able to accept, stringent constraints regarding who qualifies to receive services, and an extensive intake process where parents are needed to be at 3 sessions. And then they're not able to ever receive those services. So the cost of not having an adequate number of social workers in the buildings may not be monetary, but rather the cost will be at the expense of our students and families and their social, emotional, and mental health wellness.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Maureen McNamara, UTEC, who's counselor, keeping the SS team intact. I see a pattern here.
Good evening. I'm here tonight to remind you of the tremendous impact student support teams have of students of the city of Buffalo. As you may know, the student support team consists of school counselors, social workers, and psychologists. Each of us have a unique and important role in ensuring student safety and success, both in school and in life, especially for our neediest students and families. Student support teams work together. Yes, we have different roles, but so much of our work depends on mutual collaboration through which we strive to provide support effectively and efficiently to our students. School counselors, social workers, and psychologists provide services to both general education students and special education students. We work together to coordinate and provide Tier 2 and Tier 3 interventions, and we triage crisis support and interventions. Cutting any of our positions will mean one thing: shortchanging our students in the city of Buffalo. I know I'm speaking to people who understand the importance of these positions, because when the district received the ARP ESSER funds, a great deal of the money was spent on hiring more school counselors and more social workers. Cutting any of us would be detrimental to the progress we've been making in these last 2 years. We are making a difference. We cannot go backwards now. I can go on and tell you about all the positive things that have occurred over these last 2 years with the increased amount of school social workers and school counselors. But the bottom line is the students in our district, hiring more school social workers and school counselors, students in our district are getting proactive social emotional support individually, in groups, and in classrooms and beyond. But this work has just started. If we want to see actual measurable results, the support must continue. It cannot stop. Our students in Buffalo deserve it. Please do not cut any school counselor, any of our social workers. We need to continue moving closer to both the social work ratio and the school counselor ratio, which is one school counselor and one social worker for every 250 students. The current school-based budgeting process is actually pitting school counselors against social workers and vice versa. It needs to stop. Our jobs are all valuable, but it's actually not about us. It's about the students and the families in this district. They need enough school counselors and enough social workers in every one of our school buildings.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Teresa Del Villa, attendance teacher, keeping the attendance department intact. Is she in the house? Teresa? Teresa, no, thank you. Mercedes V. Wright, Buffalo Peacemakers, cutting of community engagement funding.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
So, I'm a Buffalo Peacemaker. My main issue is the community engagement. So I decided to bring 2 youth that we actually work with in the process of this community engagement, so everybody in this room can see how important it is to not remove community engagement. So 2 years ago, I was called to Riverside based off a child being involved in a homicide that was at the school. We had the violence interrupt because both sides of the spectrum were in the school response to be. Social workers do a great job, teachers do a great job, probation officers do a great job, but they have enforcers, they have social workers, and then you have us. We're mentors from the community. So he looks just like my son. Literally, just like my son. Okay? So not only do we do that, so right now we know the pandemic is part of the.
I will say something specific.
Well, guess who works with those kids to get our rates down right now, where compared to last year this time, the kids have actually went down. And the beats between the children. I got statistics in the PowerPoint. I'm new to this. I didn't know how to send it to y'all, but I do got the numbers. But this is what we do. All those that are behind there.
And then the kids are in.
There's 20-something kids out there, because I told them that
as they're growing and they're developing, because their brains aren't fully developed yet, that they're never supposed to allow people to make decisions for them when they're not in the room.
Can you bring them in the room?
Like 20-something.
I don't care.
Because we just got
I want to see if they're here.
They can tell them to come in. This is what community engagement is. We bridge the gap in the schools. So we're at Riverside. Y'all know the stabbing happened in November. We're there every day. We work beside not just security, but MOBAC and the police. So these children here that I'm going to remain their nameless, and I appreciate y'all allowing them to wear their masks and wear their hoodies because it took a lot for them to come in here. But I need y'all to understand everybody that's being affected by this. It's not just about the money in our paychecks. It's about y'all cutting our budget. These kids being affected. This is who we work with every day. This is the future of Buffalo. Academic achievement for all, that's what y'all do by keeping community engagement budget, and I'm gonna end, because I don't need 3 minutes.
So it's important that our children who took the time to come out be acknowledged and recognized. I need each one of your names. I'm sorry, this is gonna take a little bit of time, but can they say who they are and what school they represent? If they choose to. If not, they can continue to go on. But if they're not comfortable, they don't have to. But
At least the schools that you represent.
Whatever they're comfortable with. Okay, performing arts in the house.
All right.
That's not our mic. You can talk up here. We have a building. Been it in the house.
My name is Yahya Hussein. I'm 17 and I live
Check in the house.
Hello everyone. My name is Sangam Briley. I go to MST High School and I'm 19 years old.
MST.
My name is Ahmed. I'm 17 and I go to Riverside High School.
Riverside.
My name is Socrates. I'm 17. I go to Carrera.
Burgard.
Nice representation.
That's good representation. McKinley? No, the mic is up here. McKinley.
Hello, my name is Sue Walker. I'm 17. I attend CCI. Hope you guys have a good day.
Hello, my name is John Dow.
Riverside? Burgard. What a nice, thank you, young people, for coming out. You are what we're here for. Thank you. Thank you so much. If you want to lead now at this point, you are free to stand, or if you can lead. I just want to, our public and our board, we all want to recognize our young people when they come out. We appreciate that. Next is Timothy Lyons, Concerned Citizen Teacher, Instrumental Music Cuts. One day this room is going to grow. We're going to have a big room one day.
Good evening. My name is Timothy Lyon. I'm a resident of Buffalo, instrumental music teacher at Southside Elementary and Degree Science Magnet School. I'm here today to talk about inequity across our schools regarding instrumental music. Throughout the years, you've heard many of us speak about the benefits of instrumental music participation.
These include language development, increased IQ, larger growth of neural activity, improved spatial temporal skills, improved test scores, and developing fine motor control, plus fostering social developments. There are numerous scientific studies that have data pointing to the vast benefits to student achievement across the board, as well as social and emotional benefits. Equity in our schools is an important topic. There are drastic differences in the availability of instrumental music within the Buffalo Public Schools. While this is a complex topic with no single solution, our students are not receiving equitable opportunities. With the budgets being approved for the upcoming year, we are once again seeing reductions and in some cases eliminations of instrumental music programs. Why is it that when there's a funding crisis, this is one of the first areas to be impacted? One example is Southside Elementary. The current instrumental position is 4 days out of the 6-day cycle. This is being cut in half to 2 days for the 24-25 school year. Currently this year, there are 79 students in the program. Does this mean that only 40 can participate in the program next year? In the handout I provided, there is a list of 68 students. I subtracted the 11th, 8th grade students who will be in high school next year. I'm asking all of you to please tell me which one of these students will be able to participate and which ones will not. These are real names of real students right in front of you. How do we make that decision? For some students, this is the highlight of their day. For others, this is one place where they excel. For some, this is the only place that they feel safe and accepted. So I'm asking you to please select these students and please email the decisions. I've provided my email address on the back of the form so that I may notify parents that next year if their child may or may not be able to participate in instrumental music. While true equity would include increasing this and other programs in the district, I realize it's difficult given the current budgets. What I'm asking you is simply, we're not asking for increases, simply maintain the positions that we currently have this year. Our students are living through challenging times. We need to fully support programs that directly impact student growth and achievement so they can truly become college and career ready. In closing, I'm requesting to form a music committee comprised of music teachers, music supervisor, and administration to create a plan so that all our students have the opportunities to participate and grow. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lyons, a man after my own heart. Carlinda Meadows, Buffalo Peacemaker, MVP, budget cuts. Hi.
Happy to be here. I know some of you know me as most valuable parents, but I am here on behalf of the Buffalo Peacemakers in Safe Passage. I work in Riverside with Mercedes as a peacemaker inside of Riverside. But my co-workers who are here that all have on yellow and black, peacemakers, if you can stand up, they do the Safe Passage. Can you stand up, please? So, has a very difficult job when it comes to $88 million is a huge cut to the budget. I know I do budget in my house, and sometimes I have to choose between going out of town or, car notes and stuff, right? And you do have a serious job before you. But I know I've been doing this for 3 years inside of Riverside, and I've been hearing for the past 3 years the slogan of safety first, safety first. Attendance matters, but safety first. And we are the ones that are definitely providing the safety to school, from school, and in school. A lot of times you don't understand what our young people are going through because the reality of it is what we brought them because they don't have the voice. And when they have an issue or concern, they tell us. Not only are we working inside the schools, but obviously we work in the community. We're community engagers. We're at their sports activities. When they lose a friend to a homicide, we're at the scene. We're also that support to that student to make sure that they can have some self-care to deal with the trauma of a loss of a best friend or a loved one, to also keep them going to school, to work and everything else. But the reality of it is we know that there's a serious issue with gang activity and violence that does have nothing to do with the school, but it found its way inside the school. And so when you talk about safety, I have students that don't want to come to school because they don't feel safe. We're the ones in the barriers that's the liaison between the parents and the teachers and the admin to make sure that we can make them feel comfortable, resolve the issues that they have on the outside so that they can come inside the school. So when you're doing budget cuts, you know, when you say that you stand for safety first, well then how can you then turn around and say that well, we have to cut the ones that are given a safe haven for basically teaching young adults that money is more important than anything. And you have students that are not going to college because they would rather work and have a job. Do we really want to send a message that money is more important than saving the lives of our kids to make sure that they get a sound education? Yes? No? That's the question. Think about that. If it was your child and your child had an issue with bullying, your child had an issue with someone picking on them, your child felt like on their way to the bus route that a shooting could take place or they might get jumped going to school, would you want to cut the person that's going to make sure that they're safe? That's what I want you to think about. And the reality of it is, we risk our lives to make sure all students from all communities are safe, not just my kid, but any kid. So safety first, safety matters. And Farrell Page has some flyers. That's my best friend. Make sure y'all check it out. It's a fun
Student advocates are in the house tonight. Sterling South, social worker, reduction in force.
Hello, board.
Hello.
My name is Sterling South. I'm a social worker over at South Park High School. I'm here today to address the critical issue of reducing social workers from our educational system. As educators, administrators, and all stakeholders, we must carefully consider the profound effect of cutting a single social worker from our buildings. Social workers, we serve as advocates for students facing multitude of challenges. We provide essential supports, including mental health issues, family problems. We address bullying, socioeconomic disparities by offering counseling, mediations, resources. Social workers help to create a conducive learning environment where all students can thrive academically, emotionally, and socially. We collaborate with teachers, administrators, outside agencies, as my counterpart said. We try to address the holistic need of the student. That is why we are there. Research consistently shows that students who receive social and emotional support perform better academically and are more likely to graduate from high school. By removing a single social worker, we are risking leaving vulnerable students without the necessary assistance they need to succeed. And just to put this out there, social workers are not just simply completing mandated IEP counseling, which, by the way, we can be billing Medicaid for. We are licensed professionals, right? So we can be getting money for our services. When administrators call and they are unsuccessful at de-escalating a student, we are there to help, right? When social media students are having problems, we are there to intervene. We are there for all individuals in the building, right? Including our colleagues. We are there to ensure that we are creating and fostering a community and a climate and a culture for everybody, right? The social workers are there to support everybody. I cannot tell you how many times I've had my colleagues come in and they're just having a bad day, and I encourage them to come in and talk to me right before you go and present in front of a classroom full of a student triggery, right? We are there also for our colleagues. We serve as liaisons between schools, families, and community organizations. We facilitate communication, collaboration. We are there to provide any and every intervention that you can think of, right? Our dedication, empathy, and expertise makes a profound difference in the lives of our students, families, and educators alike. As we navigate the challenges of the financial crisis, which we all recognize and understand, let us not forget, though, the value and the critical tools that social workers bring to the table. As stewards of education, it is our duty to prioritize the holistic well-being of our students. We cannot do that if the building does not have a social worker or having 25 social workers, right? A social worker 3 days out the week, right? If it's an A day and I'm there on an A day, but a D day is a fight or something happens, who we calling? So thank you all. Just keep that in mind. I appreciate all your hard work. But one cut to one single social worker would be detrimental. So thank you.
Thank you. Next is Murray Hullman, representative of Stop the Violence Coalition in the Western New York Peacemakers, funding the Peacemakers.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Well, Kati here. Take my coat off for the summertime, right? Well, I'm just going to be honest here. The reason why I'm here because what the state just did is talking to kids here. It's important to this board to understand what we go through out here in our community. We are out here to make sure that they have safe passage and they have a future. Your job is to make sure they get that future. So when you make budget cuts to the work that we have been doing in this community for years, our name should never be on this board for a budget cut. We go out here and do this without pay, and now you're trying to cut us again. Every year is another dagger. Every year is another gun being pushed at us. Every year we go out into the community without vests on to make sure they're safe. Right now, if you went down Main Street, it might be chaos going on. Have this board ever went down on Main Street? It's chaos after they leave Touch Tech, after they leave Emerson, after they leave all the other schools or get on the trains. And do we see people out there helping us? No, we don't see board members. We don't see them. We don't see you getting out the car and saying, okay, here. Only person I seen out there one time was Darius Pritchard. And he was out there. But these kids deserve better. We should not be in this room right now discussing money to help them or help these peacemakers or help the Stop the Violence Coalition or any organization out here doing the work. Come on, folks. Put your differences to the side. Because if we're not out there, it's chaos in our community. It's chaos right now. If we're not on the train, I got people working the train right now from 2 to 6 p.m. longer without pay. Primitive tools, our radios don't work. We can't talk on the phone down in the system. We have to come together. We have to get together. And this issue is not just going to stop here in Buffalo. It's going to create to the wild. It's going to go to other places and to the mall. And it's always Buffalo kids get the bad one. Stand up, kids. Let them know. Enough is enough. Don't play with their future here. Don't play with it. They are the future. Look at them. You know what? But they think the bad business of it look like somebody, a purple, whatever, and they get treated wrong. You got honor students getting pulled over or beat up by Buffalo Police Department, and we don't make no noise out in Riverside. And I get these calls. So I know you get these calls just as well, but in order for this to work, folks, I gotta come think different. I have this right here. Homicide to healing. Why am I having flyers about homicide to healing when it's about them in our community? We have to heal together. We have to make this board come together and make sure we don't never have to cut anything that's coming. American Rescue Plan money is coming. All this money is coming to Buffalo. So all we doing is saying we're going to cut the peacemakers. What if it was cutting your budget? What would you do? Thank you.
Is Pastor James Gauss here? Gauss here? Concerned says, oh, I didn't see him there. Pastor, welcome back to basics.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
This you heard from my family. It's the reason why I get up and do what I do every single day, because of these young people. See, there's a young man by the name of Christian Porter, 14 years old, is not here anymore. Young man Keith Littledown, 15 years old, is not here anymore. Ronnie Scott, 16 years old, is not here anymore. Ray Patterson from Langeville is 14 years old, he's not here. Right? Naeem and Dominique Williams, 16 years old and 17 years old, are not here anymore. Right? These were students in your school. This is why we get up and do this. When you wouldn't even pay us to do this, we was on the corners stopping our kids from getting hurt. You didn't pay us up. I had to hustle up the money to get us together so that we could go out there and protect. Maine and Utica, they were tearing up Maine and Utica. That's why I went over there. Matter of fact, we went over there and after a whole year of being over there, not getting paid anything, and then I asked this board, not you personally, but the superintendent, that then superintendent, actually asked for help. We did, because we had to feed our families, but we out there. And they didn't want us, and when you said no, we said we're going to stop. And then I get a call from the then chief of police, Joe Gramac, the chief of B district, said, Pastor, please don't leave. We don't have enough officers to come in there and take care of it. We can't keep arresting them. We cannot keep doing that. Please don't. And we continue to be out there. And when Sierra Bennett got killed over on Riverside, wasn't nobody paying us. I sent them in there to go on Riverside because they was getting ready to tear up. The opposing forces were getting ready to tear up Riverside. The administration wouldn't have known what to do with it. So that's my commitment. I'm asking, where is your commitment?
Hello.
And I tell you this, and I don't say this. I don't say this in a threatening way. But if we were not there, it would be, I'm talking about massive chaos. We have had a fight since September the 7th. We have had a fight at every single school, every single day. Every day that we have had to interrupt, intervene, and resolve the issues between them. Every single day. There's not an administrator in here capable of doing that. So we go out there and do it. At risk. I don't care if it's night, if they're out there at 7 o'clock, you pay us until 4:30. We stay out there until 7 o'clock. Why? Because they're out there at 7 o'clock. And the commissioner of police called me downtown when they was getting ready to tear up downtown. And we came down there. We didn't hesitate. I sent everybody downtown. We had to stop this in November. And we stopped it. As a matter of fact, we pulled all those elements that was creating this, we pulled them into our meeting and talked to them. And you didn't have that problem in December. You didn't have that problem in January. The same thing for the Erie County Library, but that has nothing to do with you. You call upon us when you need us, and now we need you.
All right. Let the church say amen. Amen. Mark Bruno, concerned citizen, parent, teacher, returning police to Buffalo schools in crisis.
Good evening, everyone, and I just would like to thank the Peacemakers, Pastor, my girl Carrera. They do a lot at Riverside. They're very valuable to us. They just kind of have a pulse of what's going on in LA and what's going on in the city. So I want to thank all of them for everything. It's greatly appreciated by the staff of the school Riverside. I also want to thank all of our security guards that work so very hard every day, especially at my school, trying to keep a gigantic building safe. And God, those men and women who work very hard in all of our schools. I would like to thank them. So Riverside is a great school. We have wonderful kids. Lots of them graduate to be architects, lawyers, police officers. So, you know, to me, it's a very special place. I've worked there my whole career, over 20 years. Sadly, you know, we've had kind of a rough year, and 911 is called almost daily. And it could be for a student just leaving the building without permission, but, you know, there's very serious fights. Sometimes weapons get in. And both my principal and my staff are really asking that Buffalo police be returned, you know, and the Peacemakers as well, to some Buffalo public schools that are in crisis. And I'm going to ask this question. Would the shooting at McKinley and the stabbing at Riverside have happened if Buffalo police officers were at that school standing outside on those days?
They were.
Yeah, but not at Riverside during the stabbing. There was no.
But they were at McKinley, so let the record be correct.
Okay, but there was no there was no police officer at Riverside the day of the stabbing, and actually the security guard walked away from the stabbing, and I'm not actually criticizing that because they're only armed, they only have radios. So in certain Buffalo public schools, I think it would be prudent to have police officers return to those buildings. And you know, we want our kids to be safe. We want an environment that's safe and conducive to learning in all of our Buffalo public schools. And I think, you know, schools sadly have become targets for violence, and you know, we kind of got to keep evolving to address those issues. So again, thank you for everything everyone does in keeping our schools safe, and the peacemakers, our security officers. But you know, my principal and my staff are really advocating for a police officer to be in the building full time. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Next speaker is Jose Carrera, social worker, concerned about social worker cuts in the district.
Good evening, board, administrators.
Good evening.
I would like to speak with you about the importance of keeping the social work in the school. Before I begin, I would like, really appreciate my colleagues that are here to support us. If you guys would mind standing up for a second. Thank you. I appreciate you all. School social workers are critical to the success of students at Buffalo Public Schools. We are often the front door to families, students, and staff. There is no other function area currently in BPS that is trained or whose job function duplicates that of a social worker. We focus on academics, behavior problems, safety, and graduation rates. In the absence of a social worker, these things would not happen. The job would be halfway done. These students would be robbed of services if we were not there. Many social workers were hired post-COVID because the circumstances reached the crisis point and could not be ignored. Social workers address the crisis, help normalize by supporting the mental and behavioral health of our students. We did this so effectively that in the absence of social workers in Buffalo Public Schools is alarming for our students, parents, and staff who rely on this vital support. The immensely positive impact that social worker has had on student body and the climate of our school over the last 3 years cannot be ignored. We have helped Buffalo schools create and promote a healthy foundation on which schools can build and fulfill its mission. These are one of the many uniquely qualities that we bring to the table. Social workers are the doors to our schools. We impact all areas of academic environment and make it possible for students to be engaged, feel a sense of belonging, and feel safe in the school. We are the hub where schools effectively intersect with the community. No other job in the Buffalo Public School is trained to fulfill this role or to foster an environment where students may thrive and where teachers and staff are better able to perform their jobs. In short, we are essential to the success of schools, not only because of our contributions to the special education area, but to all students. We propagate a sense of belonging by creating an environment rooted in the individual growth of our student bodies and the success of our schools. There is no area where social workers are not integral to mitigate and eliminate barriers to the learning environment. Thank you for your time.
Lacey Folga, parent, suspensions and special education and / security.
I'd like to thank the board for having me here. I came earlier in the year to speak. I'm a parent of an autistic 7-year-old. My child has been having a rough couple months. And my biggest concerns are training with autism, specifically with security guards.
I am highly concerned that security is being called second graders with a disability. It's an escalation. Studies show that security guards often, their presence escalate behaviors for children with ASD. They're also, these security guards are not trained on dealing with individuals with autism. They're not trained on de-escalation. So as to why they get used as a resource for these students doesn't make sense to me. I think the district really needs to look at this. You know, for my son, it has escalated behaviors, and I don't want to see other kids go through the same thing. You know, you have an amazing group of social workers here who work really hard to keep these kids regulated that are in special ed classes, and then you have there's these systems that undermine it. And we really have to look at that. These kids need to feel safe in order to function in an academic setting. And, you know, I don't know that that's happening for a lot of students. And I hate to see the cuts to social workers when, you know, I know at my son's school, they're removing a pre-K program and adding 2 more 8 to 1 to 2s when they're already struggling to support the students in the special ed classes. I think the district really has to look hard at what we're doing for special ed kids. It's an ongoing problem. I'm not the only parent. Unfortunately, I feel like special ed parents are super busy and can't always make it out to these meetings to speak their mind. But I have talked to a ton of parents. I have friends who've talked to tons of parents. Ed is in contact with parents, and it is a real problem. So I just hope you guys consider looking into proper training for these security guards if they're going to be involved. If they're not, and the decision is made that, you know, we're not going to call in security on these kids, that's one thing. But if you're bringing them into a room with a child, especially with ASD, they can hurt that child or they can get themselves hurt. And then that child is going to be in trouble for that security guard getting hurt. And it's unacceptable. Absolutely unacceptable. And I will end there. And the principal has been wonderful, and, you know, he walked me through, you know, procedure, but I think this is systemic. I think
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate your advocacy. Thank you. Jessica Bauer Walker, parent, wellness policy, followed by Yahya, is it Yahya? Yahya Hussain.
Good evening, my name is Jessica Barr Walker. I am a parent, I'm a community health worker. We're here with our youth community health workers tonight. So these young people that are here, they are trained community health workers. That means that they are Buffalo Public School students. They receive training in a variety of things. They have been through a lot themselves, but we work in an empowerment-based model. So they're not youth who are just being serviced, they're youth who are giving care to others. So that's why we're here tonight. Peacemakers, community supports, super important. Social workers, student support teams, super important. We are the parents and students. We are directly impacted people. We want to not only be seen as people in need of service. I am distressed when I hear so much of the narrative around our youth being dangerous, our youth causing problems and chaos. That's a small percentage of our youth. Those problems are serious and they need to be dealt with, but the vast majority of our youth are doing what they need to do. We have been going down to Fountain Plaza. We were at McKinley High School on Friday. We saw no issues. We are not only providing safe passage, we are engaging with the youth. The youth had designed a survey around issues important to them, as we talked about at the last board meeting. Transportation, school safety, school discipline, school food, mental health. These issues at their core, mental, emotional, behavioral health, right? So we have people who are directly impacted. I barely made it to this meeting because I'm a parent myself. I'm dealing with a whole bunch of stuff, as all y'all who are parents know. Our students, many of them, they're in Ramadan right now. Thank you, Ms. Belton-Common, for making some accommodations and making sure that we would have a safe space tonight for our students who are practicing. We're managing all kind of stuff. We've been in the hallway because this space is not set up for students, right? So I appreciate you having them here. I just want to clarify who we are and what we do, and that we have to have directly impacted people dealing with this day in and day out, the challenges that we're dealing with, the opportunities, the strengths we have. Again, we have some things to offer. These students, they've been trained in effective communication, knowing their rights, advocating for a food commissary. We've been engaging with district leaders. Chief Hills was with us the other Saturday, engaging with our students, talking to them about their concerns around school food, around building cleanliness, around lack of access to water in some of our buildings. Unless you're a student, some of these issues you just wouldn't know because you're not a direct user, right? So I just want to be here. I was going to talk about the wellness policy, which is really important. We were not aware that the wellness policy was being put forth to the board. We want to be part of this process. We helped to write the wellness policy. So let's make sure that we have robust family and community engagement, that we know that these youth are not just showing up, they're empowered, they have a voice. Several of them will be speaking tonight. Just to be clear, like, we're out here, we're doing stuff. We're part of the solution, we want to work with it. Thank you.
Yahya Hassan, student community health worker, student wellness.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I'd like to address a topic that affects each and every one of us, and that is good nutrition for our schools. It is no secret that the current offerings in our cafeteria leave much to be desired, with questionable food choices and frequent food shortages. It has become increasingly clear that we need a change. That is why I want to bring up pushing a new food commissary building that can help fight against these problems. A new food commissary building can give youth better quality food, which can in turn make school a happier place for youth. In my experience, mediocre food can cause students to be lethargic and demotivated in class, which can affect their grades and mental health. A new food commissary building gives you the best food choices possible and gives public school youth a chance to compete with suburban school youth who don't suffer from these issues due to their reasonable selection of food. At the end of the day, me and you are on the same team. We both want what's best for you. And a new food commissary building can do unprecedented good for youth in public schools, so we should try to make it happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Yahya Hassan. Next speaker is Sangram. I'm saying your name wrong. Correct me. Say it for me, young man.
Sangram.
Sangram. And what's your last name?
Briley.
Briley. Sangram Briley. Welcome. Student.
Yep.
My apologies.
All right. Hello, everyone. I hope all of you are doing well today. My name is Sangram Briley, a Buffalo Public School student who's about to graduate this year. But before that, I want to raise concerning issues that affect all of us. The state of our transportation system, especially our dependence on Niagara Frontier Transportation Authority, the NFTAs. The challenges posted by our current transportation system are undeniable. Unreliable bus schedule, safety concerns like other people on the bus being on drugs or being in the state of mind where they can't make the right or good decisions, seeing other people. The challenges posted by current transportation system. These are some challenges like qualities. The buses are very dirty and it's not very hygienic. The bus smells, there's smell of drugs, smokes, bodily fluid too. From overcrowded buses to unreliable schedule, these problems are creating barriers between the students and the education. Ask yourself, would you want your kids to getting on this bus that are unsafe and unreliable? I wouldn't want my child being those buses, but I have to because I have no other options. What's the other option? Nothing. That's all I would like to say today. Thank you for listening.
We have Khadijah Hassan, parent on wellness, followed by John Dwaudu.
Can I please say something before I just begin my speech? I would just like to say that these students that is here, it is connected students. Me and Jessica work very hard to make our students the leaders that they are. It was very offensive that Peacemaker did claim that that was their students, but this just clarifying that these are connect students under the leadership of me and Jessica.
Okay, but let's be real clear. If you are part of the BPS family, they are all of our students. And if you have ownership of our students, it's because they love our students and not trying to be disrespectful. Let's make sure that's clear,
Yeah,
okay?
because them saying that we brought them here is what really offended me and with the hard work I have.
Okay, but I'm not, but there's still, we're all one big family, and they took ownership because they love them as much as you do as well, and we love them as well. That's why I brought them in. So no harm, no foul. Please charge it to their mouth and not their heart, okay? Let's move forward. Thank you.
Good evening, board members. My name is Khadija Hussain. I'm a parent of a 5-year-old baby girl in PBS. Today I'd like to talk about Eid. Eid is an Islamic holiday that is celebrated 2 times a year. Eid al-Fitr is the one that's celebrated right after Ramadan, which is 2 days long, and Eid al-Adha lasts for 3 days. Eid al-Adha is usually during summer break, but there will be a day that it will be in the middle of the school year due to the Islamic calendar depending on the moon. I've been advocating on this issue for almost 9 years now, since I was in high school myself, and it's a little bit upsetting that nothing has been done about it and it's not recognized. As a parent, I do not feel okay knowing that my child will lose a day of learning because we cannot make Eid an official district holiday, even though we have thousands of Muslim students and families in our district. The largest school district, not only in New York State, but also in the entire U.S., serving more than 1.1 million students, have moved to making both their Eids a district holiday along with many other states. Although the district considers Eid as an excuse absent, that feels like a slap to our face. We don't want our children excused. We want our children to have the opportunity to not miss out on lessons being taught. Missing 1 day of school doesn't mean just 1 day of school. It means missing out 7 through 8 classes, each being approximately 40 minutes. Then our children have to try to play catch up while their non-Muslim peers are caught up. It isn't fair when our non-Muslim peers are able to enjoy a whole entire week of Christmas and an entire week of Easter, but that's okay, right? Because we call it winter and spring break. Yet our children cannot go on family vacation and celebrate their holidays without having them miss out on learning in the learning environment. The break system doesn't work for our Muslim children who only got 2 days out of the entire year to celebrate with their families. The break system only works and favors American cultures and holidays. Then we end up excluding our children from learning environment in order to celebrate our holidays. This topic matters to me a lot. Muslim children should be able to celebrate Eid without the worry of missing school. And I would love to just have the opportunity to have a meeting with the board and Dr. Williams to further discuss this, if that is possible. Also, I would like to give a special thanks to our board president, Ms. Common. We appreciate your willingness to accommodate a space for our students and I to pray tonight. And I also want to give a special thanks to Mr. Hills for coming out last Saturday. Our students felt very heard and they appreciate that. Thank you.
Our final speaker tonight is John Dewey. Dolly? Say it again, baby. Dolly. Welcome, John.
Hello, my name is John Dowdy. I'm a student at Burger High School. I hope everyone's having a wonderful day. I'll keep my speech short and simple today. I want to come up here today and talk about how students have to be escorted to the bathroom. Half the time, the escort wouldn't even show up or would take half the class period to make it. The students are trusted enough to go to restrooms themselves. There is probably a better solution than an escort. Another topic I want to speak about is suspensions. No learning is happening if the student is getting sent home. And half the time is for insubordination or disrespect. Not saying disrespect should be tolerated. I just feel like there's a better solution other than sending kids home. And it just demotivates them. Makes them feel like school doesn't matter or makes them care less about school. Also wanted to say lunches are getting better as the past few weeks. It's nice to know that we're working on making stuff better. Big shout out to everybody working on behalf of the food commissary. Thank you for your time.
To our Muslim people, I'd like to say Ramadan Mubarak to each and every one of you. And I'd like to turn this over to Dr. K to represent our sister superintendent today.
Thank you, Madam President. Want to thank all of the speakers who came out tonight. Your passion for our students is self-evident, and we really appreciate everything that you said. I have taken copious notes, and we have recorded your address to the board tonight, and the superintendent will be reviewing all of that tomorrow. I do want to just make one clarifying point that no decisions have been made about any of our community organizations that we have been supporting in our budget. No decisions have been made about the funding levels for next year. Superintendent has made that very clear as she, has these discussions with the board and with members of the public. At this point, we don't even have a state budget yet. So we're very early in the process, and the superintendent will certainly keep the board apprised as that process goes along. So thank you again to all of our wonderful speakers. Really appreciate everything that you're doing.
And I'd like to comment also today because for some reason or another, there's an assumption that security is not a priority and it has been on the chopping block. That has not been presented to the board in any meetings. I don't know where the rumor is coming from. The press has left, so that conversation won't get out to the public. But security is very important to this district. We have recently have a posting to even expand the department to try to make sure that all the burden load does not fall on one individual. So we need to recognize that we're not playing when it comes to security, and no one treasures our children more than we do. We love them just as much as every one of our community partners. And so I need to be clear about that. The rest, the board has been very strong-minded as far as making sure that equity happens within our district. Since I've been on the board, first of all, the board was never even used before, the word was never even used before I got on the board. And since then, we've done unbudgeted requests, and we try to make sure that we balance things. So it's very early, as Dr. Carrera said, early in the process, and we want to make sure that we hear each and every one of you. You are important to us, and we want to make sure that our schools run. We are in the process of doing a new governance model that talks about student outcome, and we cannot have student outcome, successful students without making sure we have the proper people in the right chair, sitting on the right bus, riding in the same direction. So note that we've heard you today, okay? Thank you.
Madam President, the superintendent will give her next update at the April meeting, so you can go on to the rest of the agenda.
Thank you. May I have a motion to accept the minutes from February the 14th, 2024? I have two, first and second. Jennifer, second by Cindy, Board Member Cindy. All in favor?
Aye.
Any exceptions? Okay. Consent agenda. May I have a motion to accept the consent agenda? So Larry, second by Cindy. All in favor? Okay, let's move forward. We have item number 11B. Terry Schuler has recused herself. Reason, purpose for the recusing? Personal, okay? Personal involvement. Next, we have number 17I. Mr. Hurd, Board of Ed, recommendation in ovate. Mr. Hurd, you have the floor.
Yes, thank you, Board President. Talking about the Innovation Business Solution, I just had a question. Can you give me a second? Could you get to... This is about esports. I know part of this I read through talked about esports program. It's something, it's a design program that can help guide it. Are we looking to bring esports into the district, or are we going to facilitate it?
Mr. Hurd, we're just getting our CTO, so she should be in just a second.
Okay.
This is This is is a security company?
No, it's an IT consultant.
IT consultant, right. Oh, right, but what's the one we're talking about? They worked with us when we had the cybersecurity.
Right.
They worked with security with us. Yeah, it says right in here, prioritize security and wellness.
I'm sorry, my question about 17-9.
Yes.
You had it?
Innovate?
Yes.
Yes, I.
Oh, yeah, I was just asking a question about it. One of the things that it illustrated was esports. I'd like to know the district, are we looking to prepare for esports programs here in the district? I know it's supposed to be many colleges to make it much harder to implement how we can develop a workplace. If we are going to develop that, I really want to be interested in where, how many schools, and the number of kids that we're interested in.
Absolutely. We have started to develop a co-opportunity with the CTE program. So our directors of IT and CTE are offering the program. We did put out a survey. We did get quite a few, about 50 students are interested in the summer program we're offering. We might even be able to offer two-week programs because of the budget. We'll be over at 28 at our center. That's where we can actually accommodate all that. We did anticipate purchasing right now a lower level, like the Nintendo Switch program, because that will accommodate the middle school and the high school kids that will come to the program, with the intent to develop two teams, ideally at the innovative high schools to start, and then we'll see where that goes from here. So we are developing a long-range planning process to have full competitive programs.
Who did the survey go out to? Was it a multitude of kids, or was it a building? How did the survey put out?
Mr. Harris isn't here today, but I believe that the survey went out to the Bennett and Hutchinson.
And you got 50 responses.
We got quite a few responses. 50 agreed for this summer program, but there was a lot of interest in the program moving forward.
Okay, thank you.
Sure, no problem.
I'd like the record to reflect that Bennett High School alumni has started to gain esports at Bennett High School, and I think that's the reason why they were targeted, because they provided the money for it. Okay, so.
I think we need to get a jump on this. I know other Carrera programs are looking at it also, and I think that this will capture a lot of our children of the curriculum.
Thank you. Next up, Mr. Hurd, thank you. Next up, Mr. Hurd, Riverside Stadium upgrade, professional architect and engineering service.
My question with this is that I'm looking at the architecture, the vendor name is Window, and I know that we spent a lot of money before with Open All High for our architecture. We didn't have to get the designs done over again. I just want to make sure this is not the same architect, or maybe the board get opportunity to look at some of the work that Window has done, or work that they're doing, and I'll be working with them or partner with them in the projects.
Executive Director Wilson, do you know the architect who did this phase 3 design?
This was not the same architect. The architect that did the All High Stadium project is not included in this current offer.
Okay, so why isn't that architect included? Because if we trusted in this architect on the second drawing or the third drawing over at All High Stadium, you don't think that would be a good fit for this project, or did they go out for bid for RFP?
They
had to go out to RFP.
Okay,
it was an RFP, but they were one of the firms that was included, but they were not a successful proposal.
I'm sorry, but I just trying to prevent from happening is that we get drawings done like we did in the past, and then we have to get more drawings done over again. Cost the district money. I just want to make sure we got somebody that we can be a firm with, that be a great partner and understand the vision that we're looking for.
So this is for an emergency scope of work also, that was based on a walkthrough with Dr. Reynolds, Superintendent Jim Barnes, to identify some emergency elements of the site that needs to be dealt with. But the last time there's been any design done on the site was during reconstruction. It's a challenging site because of the property that abuts it, the limited size of the field, the wind, and the essentially river that runs under it. So there are a lot of issues on this site that are not issues on, let's say, all high, that also have to be addressed in a long-term plan for the emergency work and then laying the foundation for further work.
So how are we with the acquisition of the brownfields?
We are nowhere on that. Nowhere. Yeah, we've had very, very positive discussions with the Riverside Partnership Alliance, with the Maritime Center over on Arthur Street. We've had good discussions with the City of Buffalo about the potential. They're doing a Riverside-wide redesign. We've been actively participating in all of that. We are at the table, but as far as acquiring that property, the city, I don't believe, has acquired it from the developer as of 2 months ago.
Okay. So will we meet with this to see, maybe see a possible drafting to drawing in our committee?
We can bring in the designs that are done by Wendell. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
So I have a question, additional question on that. So how does this qualify as an emergency? Help me understand that term emergency. We used it a lot during COVID, and I'm trying to figure out why we're still using it.
So as far as emergency, when we use emergency, usually it's when we declared a budgetary emergency where we can circumvent the purchase process. We did not say this was an emergency for that. What drove this as an emergency was our being notified by the athletics department that they felt this field was no longer safe or suitable for competition. So that is what it wouldn't in any of our provisions for an emergency, but it is a short-term stabilization to make the field safe for competition for the new.
And so when we use the word emergency, we need to be consistent when we use it. Okay, emergency means emergency. Okay, all right, let's be consistent when we're using these terms, because when I hear emergency, I'm thinking safety concerns. I'm thinking more than what you're listing here. And so that's why I get concerned. When I looked at this, what I was concerned about is that seems like, and what board member Woods, maybe you can correct me, seems like when we did our MBE policy, we talked about if an organization is MBE, that they would get higher consideration or something. Remember at one point we had talked about that, and I thought that was written in our policy or something. No?
It didn't include it.
We didn't get it, it didn't make it in, okay, because I was wondering, because I see that there was an opportunity for someone who was within 2 points or 3 points to, to receive this. And so I'm looking at things like that, and I'm very concerned about that. I would appreciate if this brought before the board, because my first question to the superintendent was, is this something that someone can do? Local, do we have someone inside of our architecture department who could do this and save this district some money? If it was a situation where we use our architect and then we brought somebody else in as a consultant for the other piece that they weren't able to do, is it possible to save this money? So the superintendent came back and said she had asked a similar question and was told that the state requires it. So of course I get on the phone and ask the state, because I want to know what's going on. If the state is it's costing us additional money, I want to point it out to the commissioner. And it didn't come back like that. They were basically saying, unless there's some major environmental stuff involved, we're one of the few districts in the state that have licensed architects. So I don't know if we have any more, but I just think that we need to try to keep this stuff in-house as long as possible, because when we look at 146, as 146,000, there were smaller bids, and I certainly hope he doesn't come back with the unforeseen upcharge, which has been the norm with quite a few of these vendors. If we go with the high, we expect him to cover everything that's there. You know, it's time out for coming back, getting another 50 grand or 60 grand from the board after you've earned the bid. Unforeseen, make sure the bids have unforeseen already included in there. So that's all I wanted to say on this, because we want to get the work done, but I think we need to start looking at how much money we can start saving this district by staff. And if we don't have staff that can do some of this stuff, maybe as people leave or grow or whatever, we start bringing them in and getting them trained to do it. We can't continue to spend the amount of money that we're spending on that side of the equation and not challenge it. We just cannot.
And thank you so much, President.
Thank you.
The procurement has a real clear policy on what emergency purchases are.
and it was sloppy me to say emergency in this, so thank you for correcting that. We do have one AIA certified architect on staff, that's Mr. Alston, and we have no other architects that are actually certified architects on staff.
But I bet we got some students at UB who would love a project like this.
We would love to hire more architects. That would help us to be more nimble and responsive.
Why don't we have that talk with some of our higher ed partners to see what they can contribute to our department since we're short staffed, and that would be a great internship for them, you know what I mean?
And we also have to pass the licensure exam, which is a challenge. And supporting desirable candidates through that process is something we are very interested in.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Thank you for the work. Next, Mr. Hurd. Next, Mr. Hurd, 18A, CTE bus purchase, grant funded Perkins.
You don't have to come up. I just want to say thank you. It's 18A, 18B, E, and F. I know this story that we talked about over and over again about purchasing the vehicle instead of leasing. It'll be more cost effective for a ticket if you purchase the vehicle, used it, and use them under the warranties that they exist on. By purchasing them and also having trading value at the end of our cycle with them. And so we can say the district a lot of money. So we went through those numbers before, previous board meetings. I'm happy that the district actually listened and compromised into purchasing these vehicles. So thank you again.
So I want to say that I did have a conversation with our CFO in regards to this. And what I was concerned about is, and maybe this can be for a committee meeting, do we have maintenance records that are maintained for these vehicles? This summer, our children were assigned a vehicle that broke down every day as we sent them out to a cybersecurity space pilot program. And my question at that point was, wasn't there a maintenance schedule in place on these vehicles? So I'm not sure what happened. But, you know, I got a guy down there on Jefferson Avenue that can fix an alternator in a heartbeat. You understand what I'm talking about? So, oh, please. It was, trust it was. It was one of the buses.
We can get that information.
But I just want you to know, you don't have to get up. I'm just talking.
We'll get that.
We're good, but I'm just saying, you know, I'd make sure my maintenance on my car is done. And so I want to make sure that we have mechanics working in the district, that they're doing their job and they're making sure our vehicles are maintained. And don't ever send our kids out again in a vehicle that's not functioning. You know, listen, I started to go and rent my own vehicle for them. That's a no-no. So let's make sure that doesn't happen again. Cindy, are you good? You're not on here to say anything. Okay, that's Mr. Hurd. Next, I've already said what I have to say. I talked to the CFO about this. My concern with these vehicles is, one, we bought a brand new vehicle, and one, we bought an older 2-year-old vehicle, a year older, for 2 years now, and it looked like it cost more money, and he assured me that there was a reason and he would get back to me on it. So I'm going to get that answer. So that was for items number 18E and F. Next, capital projects, Buckham Hall, and I am on record to say number 20A, that I'm very concerned about the cost of this project. This is a very expensive project. It's already starting to escalate, and I would like to have an idea of how much we have spent year to date on this project. And my understanding is the cost of everything has gone up, and the initial numbers that were presented to the board is going to be much more. I want to go on record to say that when we, as a banker, as a former and a property owner, that any time that we can spend large sums of money, we should be about making sure we empower this district and not anyone else. There are campuses right now in this city that are available and that would meet a lot of our needs, but for whatever reason, we're moving forward on the same track without trying something different. So, I'm gonna have to pray on this one. I'm gonna have to pray. I'm letting y'all know.
he has a comment back on 18L.
Mr. Hurd, I'm being told that you have a comment on 18L.
Please finish your remarks on Buckingham.
I did. You want to comment on that?
So, as you said, the district is moving forward with the acquisition?
No, renovation.
Renovation?
We're not acquiring anything. We're just leasing some space at a tune of about $30 million.
Right, and how long is the lease going to be for?
Till they kick us off the third time, that's all. That'd be number 3.
Mr. Hills, could you give the answer?
Sorry, I get some of this.
We had a lot of concerns about this.
Some of this stuff is over my head.
Right, Mr. Hills, maybe I could just, remember the board did approve going forward with the partnership with Buffalo State for Da Vinci, and on the basis of that, the next steps were then put in place so that when we do get reimbursed by SED, it will include all of these funds. So that's why we're proceeding very systematically according to SED's procedures so that we can get that high 98% reimbursement. But I think the only question right now, Mr. Hills, is the initial lease was going to be a minimum of 15 years, I thought?
A minimum of 15 years. Right. The state legislation that provides the land lease provision has a provision of up to 37 years, pardon me. So,
thank you.
And cost to date, we have spent in
David, if you don't have that.
$240,000 for the initial feasibility study. So those are the only costs that have been incurred so far.
And so under this one, this is what, 2.2 million?
This is for producing the construction documents and design documents that are required to apply for the state ed permits. So then we can have an official aid calculation and a official price that then we can budget for.
And so Buff State does not feel the need to help us with this at all? I'm just curious because we're enhancing their campus, and I'm just trying to ask that question because it just seems a good one to ask at this point.
Right, I think what Buff State sees as their help with this, because it's a very important question, a very good question, is that during that 15 to 30 years, it's a rent-free proposition. We are not paying rent like we used to pay for DeUville College. What we are paying on is the cost of the construction that we require because it's a K-12 school. So because of the requirements for a K-12 school versus what it became after Campus West, which was a college facility, that's created a lot of the costs here. But in exchange for our investment in a building that we're going to be using, we will not be paying rent as you've been accustomed to doing for Da Vinci when they were at DeUville.
And what's the normal rent for Da Vinci?
Da Vinci was up to, from the last year, the lease, I think it was 480. Yeah, so it was increasing each year.
So it was about $500,000.
They had wanted more though for the next lease.
Yeah, they $500,000. So we're going to go 15 years. Okay, we'll leave it alone at this point. I definitely have some concerns about this, and every time anything about this project comes up, I'm questioning it. I am, because this is a poor school district, and if we've got money to spend, we need to be making sure we have some assets at the end of it that we can count on. And that's where I'm going to always stand. That's the banker in me, that's the landowner, property owner, and that's the mortgage lender in me. That just comes out naturally. Yes, Jennifer.
So explain to me again, I keep hearing that there's a reimbursement. It's a 90-something% reimbursement for the entire deal? Like,
He said 98.
98.
Can I answer that?
Yes.
It was presented to the board and approved by the board at that time. There was a full presentation on the cost breakdown of the project and how that we needed the money up front rather than use our general fund. So if you get SED approval and a building aid figure, it can vary. It actually depends upon the project, the number of classrooms, the cost. it can average between 80 and sometimes all the way up to 98%. But how we pay for the upfront cost is we go through the city and issue a bond, and then the payments on the bond almost exactly equal the building we get over a 15-year period. The part that isn't state aidable, you can't borrow against, and that's the district's contribution. I think the last time we calculated, it was between 6 to 10 million. I can send you the presentation.
No, I wanted to clarify that.
Okay.
Because we're bringing it up again, so I wanted to make sure that we're talking about cost, we're talking about how much it's gonna cost up front. The 200,000 plus that you mentioned, those are to bring the documents together in order to be approved.
Right. And
That was the
Right.
initial
SCD.
feasibility study.
Right,
That's
so
what we now
I, for my own
design.
sake and for the community's sake and the listening audience, I wanna make sure that all of this is not just rigmarole, it just makes sense. You know what I mean? That I understand President Cottman's point of view, I really do, that we should be owning properties. But at the same time, if we do have an opportunity to bring back this money plus not pay rent, I want to make sure that that's clear too to the public.
And I want to say that 15 times 500 is not the same money, so we need to definitely see that, okay? Because I know how to do math, okay, so we need to see that. Yes, Mr. Hurd?
So this is also a multi-use building. Upon our tour, they said it's going to be used by the college and by the Buffalo Public Schools. So the portion that we're paying into, is that just for the Buffalo Public Schools? That's going to be used
for the whole building.
Service?
We are paying for portions that will be just the Buffalo Public Schools. There are some general improvements that will also be of benefit to Buff State, such as the addition of an additional elevator.
Elevators.
Not many, but I can't monetize it until the design is done. But we can make sure that when the design is done, that's broken out. All the windows need to be redone. There's a complete revamping of the HVAC system on the areas we'll be using. So, but it is substantial work in the building to bring it up to a place where someone can permit it for student occupation.
Okay, the last thing is I know the superintendent had a huge concern, and we also took into it also was about having a segment of the building that would be identified for the Buffalo Public Schools and not split floors where our children are engaging with young adults. So has that been changed at all?
That will be a priority in design. So when we meet with the design architects, they will be doing a design that does meet the needs of the Buffalo Public Schools.
Okay, thank you again. That's great.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Hill. Mr. Hurd, I'm sorry, overlooked 18L, Vagabond Tour, New York, Washington.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. I just want to make a comment. I just want to say that with School 53, the kids, if this approved and they go there, just to know that the African American History Museum that's in Washington, D.C. was built by a construction company that came out of Buffalo, the H.G. Russell. It's the largest African American construction company in the United States, and they built many projects as far as like the Atlanta Airport, the Dallas Airport, hospitals across the country. So just let them know that when they go, they see some of the good works that came out of Buffalo.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, we're almost through with this consent agenda. If no one else has any additional questions. Okay. Council, can you poll the board, please?
Certainly. On the consent agenda, how do you vote Vice President Evans-Brown?
No exceptions.
Board Member Hurd?
You have in section 1 please. I'd like to recuse myself for 17L.
Reason?
Ethics, my wife sits on the board of ethics. Other than that, no exceptions.
Board Member McKecken?
No exceptions.
Board Member Micosi?
No exceptions.
Board Member Rivera?
No exceptions.
Board Member Shuda?
11E, recuse. Due to personal involvement.
And other than that?
That's it.
And Vice President Scott?
No exceptions.
Board Member Woods?
No exceptions.
And President Felton-Cotman?
Exception 28. Thank you.
And the consent agenda passes.
Thank you. Okay, board members, I would request that we do something a little differently. I by mistake, overlooked our student representative. I'd like to give her update, following which, with your permission, I'd like to change the agenda. Well, actually, we'll be okay. We'll move, after that, we'll move into our resolution. Okay, so excuse me for making that error.
All right.
I'm all right? I'm all right with you?
Pretty good. Okay, so we had our meeting on the 14th. We first, of course, we did like a little blackout room, but we first gave our appreciation to MST. They had a World Hijabi Day project where they made a video where they gave out different hijabs and pinned them to other people downtown, I believe. I don't remember where it was at. But they had a video, and then they discussed what the hijab means to them and how they became more confident into wearing the hijab. Next, we had discussed more about our domestic violence summit at the Buffalo History Museum, which happened, I believe, 2 months prior, maybe in January, December. 11 days. And then next, we had a speaker from Buffalo Futures, Tiara Parker, who talked about her, Buffalo Futures, of course, which will help give connections towards youth and to help them grab more career pathways and connections to getting more jobs. And it ranges from 16 to 24. And she basically said to home, if you want to like get more resources, to sign up for it. Let's see. Then we also had Dr. Brown come in for the Code of Conduct policy changes. So we had discussed the portable electronic devices and how we would either shorten it on the Code of Conduct or change it. We have students coming together and voicing their opinions on ways we should change it. I believe one of the students, I don't remember their names, unfortunately. I'm really bad with names. They did say that they would like to change it per grade level, like middle school, high school, elementary, something like that. And then next we had gotten notice about the caregivers and community things. There's 2 meetings, that's what it is, it's meetings. So they had 2 meetings, and then they wanted the youth to come and give their voices to it. We also had the Youth Mental Health Everest Advisory Board to come and want us to also share a student voice. Governor Ocho? Oko, thank you. Oko. And she just wanted us to come and give our student voice again. And then President Bill Common came in, and then, you asked us if we wanted to do a listening party in May and April, right?
In April.
Mm-hmm. And you want us to do student voice, well, you want us to have a listening tour and to come in there and give you advice or ideas in ways which we could do that.
Right.
And that was essentially our meeting, minus the Big 5 conference that we was discussing.
And why don't you talk about the conference? Share that you're going to be representing us in Albany soon.
Yes, so me and my vice president, Marche, are going to the Big 5 conference on April 15th through 17th. Of course, there's 5 different schools coming together. Don't remember the schools.
That's
but
okay.
You know, BPS.
We know who the Big 5 is. Trust me, we do.
Okay. And then I read that we'll be discussing topics like the emotional and mental health and stuff like that, and that's all I've got really about.
Fantastic. So since that conversation, I spoke to Adrian Saunders and Dr. Brown about what it might look like to have the student voice heard. Mm-hmm. And there was some talk about maybe doing it virtually, pulling something together virtually with you all. So that, and you can do similar to how you're meeting. So I need you to think about that and think and see if that's a good idea, or should we try to pull you all together in a room or something or whatever. So think about that, you know what I mean? And give us their feedback on that. We have a little time still to play with that. The Big 5 conference is the second year. It started when I was chair. And this is our second year doing this, where we bring our students and they get an opportunity to see what Albany is about, get a chance to meet with their legislators, It is something that Big Five funds, so it's no cost to the district. And last year it was very well received, and we're excited this year. Is that the end of your report?
Yes.
Okay, so thank you for that. Our next order of business is the board, the resolutions. And this week, the board is proposing a stipend for our student board member. And I will read that. All board members have signed on unanimously. And I will read it because I want it to be a public record to hear it. Whereas the Buffalo Board of Education in 2011 and 2012 recognized the value of student representation and input to inform the governance of the Buffalo School District and unanimously appointed the first student board member to the Board of Ed. This is outlined in Board Ed Policy Section 1000 Bylaw Code 1240. Bylaws Code 1240. Since that time, student board members have contributed significantly to the culture and climate of our district by opining on issues of concern, hosting student forums, voters registration drives, community service events and resolutions, and sitting here putting up with us every month. I should have put that in there, right? No. Whereas the Board of Education continues to work endlessly to eliminate equity barriers that impede and interfere with students receiving a quality educational experience. These barriers also apply to the obligations and responsibilities of our student board members who are sworn to represent students from our district. Under the current policy, student board members are entitled to reimbursement for approved board business expenses only. Whereas the board acknowledges that financial barriers may interfere with a student board member's ability to adequately represent our students and district. The current board policy falls short of providing any additional remedy for loss of income or hardship associated with handling board business. Therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Education, in remaining consistent to eradicating equity barriers and honoring the oath taken by our student board members or designee, agree that beginning for the 23-24 school year, a flat stipend of $500 per semester will be proportionately allotted to any student board member for responsibilities and expenses associated with the office of student board member. The Board of Education hereby requests that the superintendent facilitates and honors this request immediately. This is, I would like to have a motion to open this up for discussion. If the board will accept this, can I get a motion to accept? So moved. Larry, Jennifer. So it is open for discussion. Does any board member want to say anything on this behalf in regards to this? This is monumental. I did research prior to doing this. It is being done throughout the Big Five. It will afford our student approximately $1,000. Keeping in mind that she has a job and she loses money when she sits here with us. And so we wanted to make sure that we did not cause her any financial hardship. She will also be allowed to exercise her privilege for her transportation in a separate way. We were very clear to make sure that we did not cause her any financial hardship, thanks to Dr. Kay and Jim Barnes, because we do not want to penalize her for sitting on this board financially with the IRS code. So a lot of thought went into it. It wasn't just arbitrarily, but it is a start. Dr. Evans Brown,
Yes,
Vice Chair.
Yeah, thank you, President Topman. I think it's just an unprecedented move. I remember seeing that Deja one day, and she was waiting on Uber. And, you know, it clicked in my brain, she's doing the Uber, and then she was getting an Uber again. And I said, how do you pay for it? And she said, you know, she pays for it herself. And I remember one day Sharon gave her $20 to pay for the Uber. So it just kind of just made sense, you know, to, you know, put this in place for you as well as any other board members, student board members that's coming behind you.
Any other discussion? Yes, Mr. Rich.
Is this, tax-free or deductible?
That's what, it's a dollar amount underneath the tax code guideline. You should be okay.
I just wanted to make sure, thank you.
Dr. Revere.
I just want to say that I think it's a really important move because it removes a barrier to access and participation in student government, in civics, and in investment in education. And students are why we're here. The student voice should be central at this table.
Thank you.
And I appreciate your service.
Thank you. Board Member McCool.
Just want to thank you and everybody involved for doing it. Makes all the sense in the world, and we should have done this sooner.
So, all minds clear, can we have a vote, please? And
Motion.
Motion to approve, I'm sorry. Thank
So
you.
moved.
So moved. All in favor?
Aye.
Second, I'm sorry. Second was Cindy, she put her 2 up. Okay. Now what am I doing? So you guys gotta know, I am exhausted. I haven't been sleeping really well since December, but I am exhausted at this point. Okay, so, all right, what am I supposed to do next?
I can vote, take a vote.
She wants to take a vote. Okay, I'm sorry. Thank you. It's like that. It's the bedtime. I'm sorry. We're almost done.
On the resolution regarding the stipend for the student board member, how do you vote? Vice President Evans Brown?
Yes.
Board Member Hurd?
Yes.
Board Member McKecken?
Yes.
Board Member Makosi?
Yes.
Board Member Rivera?
Yes.
Board Member Shuta?
Yes.
Vice President Scott?
Yes.
Board Member Woods?
Certainly.
And President Felton Catman?
Yes.
The
All right, thank
resolution
you.
passes unanimously.
And so, Lisa, you will be charged with explaining her the other benefits that she has and things like that. So we want to make sure that she's taken care of. Okay, we're doing pretty good. Board members, is there any committee report that someone, before we get to unfinished business, does any committees will need to report out at this point? Okay.
I just want to note that we're going to be doing a video for the Council of Great City Schools and our school, somebody help me, it's late, student outcome focused governance, right? And we're going to be doing listening tours beginning as early as Monday for some board members. It's not me. But nevertheless, in the meantime, they're recommending that we put a video together for all the voices here at this table to announce to the public what we're doing and the purpose. So I connected with Keith Hughes and Jeffrey Hammond, who's in the audience, with the information. So they will be getting with us individually to do that video. So I'm excited about that.
Okay, Board Member McKetchin, could you talk to us about the implementation which Dr. Evans Brown referenced?
Yes, ma'am. So as we've talked about in previous board meetings, the board is about to embark on a series of listening tours. There are 16 of them in total. We are breaking out into groups of 2, and they will span from as early as next week through the end of April for us to get all of them set up and connected. They will be not just located here within the BPS community, but they will also be held by various community stakeholders outside of BPS. And they are broken down into like groups, if you will, to make it a little bit easier for us to collect the information and to kind of see some of the themes that might come through. We all know, and we've heard us say it over and over and over, and I think we're going to keep saying it over and over, but student outcomes don't change until adult behaviors change. And one of the first steps into moving through the implementation process, now that we've kind of gotten ourselves divided up, we know what works, what the expectations are, if you will, is that we go through the listening process. It is important to note that we are not to speak in the listening tours. We have a script that Leslie helped us put together. All of us are expected to stick
to the script and only talk about what is on that script. And there are a few questions that we will ask of the folks that are there attending these meetings. And the goal is for us to listen and to take that information in. Once all that data is compiled, we will be looking and pulling out the themes and likely then generating 3 to 5, hopefully 3, because we want to stay closer to that number, 3 goals based off of the themes that we hear. And those will become then the superintendent's goal going into the next school year. So not this year right now. And then interim goals from there. And those are SMART goals, similar to the ones that we've talked about throughout this year. But it is us going through a process that's a little bit more thoughtful than what we did going into this year, right? Because we kind of had a small window of time and needed to come up with some goals to get us moving. So we're excited and nervous, and it'll be fun. I am certain of that. And I do just want to share that the student outcome focused governance model is a continuous improvement model. And I want to say that right now and get it out there, we're going to stumble. It's expected that we stumble. It's not that we stop when that happens, right? We have to keep going. It's going to be awkward. It will be uncomfortable. Change is hard. We are going to have to, continuously check ourselves, check each other, and remember that it's a continuous improvement model. And so I just wanted to put that out there as we embark on this new frontier and this difference, right, in approach, is that we anticipate, right, growing pains as we move through this process. So it's okay. And I want to throw that out there for everybody.
So that's great. So why don't you share with us what's going on in your personal life as far as your job is concerned? I think that's very important for us to know.
So yesterday, I was publicly allowed to announce that Peace Prince of Western New York, the organization that I have been the CEO for the last decade, was granted a Mackenzie Scott open yield grant to the tune of $2 million in unrestricted revenue.
And can you give a little background about Peace Prince, who started that, and how, and a little bit, because I think it's important that we think about staff, that we think about how we're going to use Peace Prince in our schools. Okay, so could you just share briefly so the listening audience can know as well?
Peace Prince was founded back in 1987 by the late Sister Karen Klozak. So the organization has been around for a long time. I've only been with it for a decade. And she started this organization working initially with adults, mostly men that were coming out of state facilities. She was inside facilities, and then she had a small residential component. She did this for 2 decades before her passing. And shortly thereafter, the agency, I will say in full transparency, struggled because it was her vision, it was her ministry that she continued to push forward. And she had not just a residential facility and doing work inside the prisons and the jails, but she had connected with our young people. She had brought all different systems and silos together and tried to build bridges. And a time when we weren't necessarily talking about that and we weren't necessarily doing that. So, pretty innovative at that time. We have grown, we have moved, and Peace Prince now has still some of the core programs that Sister Karen founded many years ago in the residential side of things, but we work very heavily with folks that are on a local level. So we did, in partnership with the Sheriff's Office, open the first local reentry program about 5 years ago. That program is now nationally recognized, and we have been working with folks in the federal government and specifically folks out of Georgia State University for the last 3 years. They've been following us, doing both quantitative and qualitative evaluations on our model to determine if it can be a national best practice jail-based model, working with folks both while they're in jail and when they get out. The success of that program did it caused some folks in county government to reach out and ask us to start to move into the youth space. For several years, we have worked with Title I on a very tiny little microcosm with East Ferry Detention Center. But starting to grow, move, and evolve what that looks like when we're talking about all of the stakeholders, so not just the education community, but we have to talk about probation and the judges and the attorneys and the roles that everybody plays in this space, and bring folks together to have conversation about new innovative approaches in ways that we can often align resources to create a different outcome. So this is newer for us in that space. In terms of size, we went from a team of 1 serving youth to I think we have about 8 that are serving youth right now, and it's continuously growing. We work with OCFS as well, and have expanded to hopefully be inside East Ferry Detention Center on a very regular basis in the near future. So we are excited. Our team is full of energy also, and they work right now with a lot of students indirectly because they are referred to us through East Ferry and are involved in some of our schools. And so they try to bridge gaps even between folks that maybe don't quite get along.
Awesome. Well, we can tell it's your passion, and we want to salute you, and we're proud of you. And I can't wait to see what you're going to do with us even more for our student population. That's great. Anyone else want to share anything? We're about to conclude. If not, Dr. Evans-Brown, bereavements, and then we will conclude our meeting.
May we stand and we welcome Terry back today.
Welcome back, Terry.
Thank you so much. Her first meeting in a while. Okay, so I'm going to do bereavements March 20th, 2024. February 18th, Raymond Torda, father Rochelle Tordo, I hope I'm not messing that name up, school psychologist at number 19. February 18th, Serena Finney Wilson, niece of Chief of Security Barbara Lark. February 22nd, Colonel James McNicholas, retired Director of Army Instruction, who oversaw all these JROTC programs offered through the BPS, affectionately referred to as Grandpa by many of the cadets. February 24th, Marianne Syracuse, former aide at School 38 Annex and bus aide for many years. March 8th, Vito Sodaro, grandfather of Carly Argentiria, Administrative Secretary in the Office of Instruction. And finally, March 10th, David Greco, retired social studies teacher and principal of 37 years in the Buffalo Public Schools. Sure.
So Amina Johnson, past couple weeks, community advocate, worked very strongly with students from the Grand Street Neighborhood Center, huge part of Push Buffalo. She'll be missed.
Okay, thank you, Jazz. May we bow our heads in silence in memory of these souls. Amen.
Amen. So one thing, Mary told me I have not finished one piece of business, unfinished business. Can I have a motion authorizing the district to fully settle pending litigation before the New York State Division of Human Rights with case number 102-06267 in an amount not to exceed $7,000. Saul Paulette, second by Terry. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No. Thank you. Okay, thank you, Mary. Now, can we conclude this meeting? I have a motion to conclude. I see Cindy's hand, I see Jennifer's. All in favor? Aye. Did I hear somebody say they want to say? Oh. Thank you.
Looks like we're safe from the snow.